Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're taking a look here at Bitcoin, seeing what's going on. Happy Sunday to you. We're going to obviously identify if this new, most recent pump is going to sustain itself. And as we can see here, if we take a quick look at our Twitter, there was what, $461 million transferred in 8 minutes. Okay, so that does lead to this kind of fluctuation, if you will. So just bear that in mind. That has a lot to do with this increase, but hey, extra volume provides us with extra support, right? And if we take a look at the volume profile in the last handful of trading days here, since last Friday, as a matter of fact, is 1 week, we can see tremendous amount of volume below the current price action, and of course a secondary resistance level there at about 30,300. So Fibonacci retracement and volume is basically telling us that we're going to have some trouble crossing that level initially. Doesn't mean we're out of the woods yet, but it does imply that we are in pretty good shape there to be able to potentially retest that a second or third time. That's a good sign. All right. So again, cool stuff there. And obviously, if you're new to the channel, be sure to jump on over to our trading platform here with BingX. They have an exclusive offer right now where you register, you get an extra $50 deposit with a deposit of $50. And of course, you get $100 if you trade with $3,000. Pretty easy. And obviously, if you want to go ahead and follow the other 43 copiers here, you can go ahead and obviously check that out. I've got some really cool features there on BingX with my copy trading account, making some extra change on the size. Kind of just a challenge to be able to grow a small account into a larger account. Okay, so be sure to check that out if you're interested. Okay, so what we want to look at here with Bitcoin is a couple of things. First of all, we're going to look at the larger time frames, kind of see where we're at on the weekly, because we have officially, or at least we're on the edge of closing this week here so far. Okay, so really soon we're going to actually effectively close this candlestick. So let's talk about that. Take a quick look at the moving averages and see we are above the 50 and the 200, correction, the 50 and the 20-day set moving average. So that's still positive, right? And I mentioned this before, right there around 28,300, 28,400, that fair value gap is right where the weekly moving average is averaging itself out. So that's a good sign to be above that level. That provides us with potential support, okay? We also want to take a look here at the RSI and see that we're right between 50 and 70. So we have room for downside, but also upside as well. So it's kind of that sweet spot. I prefer to stay in that range for the most part. But the one thing we kind of want to recognize is that money flow index is lower now. So since June, roughly about a month and a half ago, money's been flowing away from Bitcoin. Okay, and it makes sense as to why the price action has been stuck on stupid for now almost 4 weeks total. Okay, so again, Bitcoin it's less common. You rarely see situations where Bitcoin stays range bound for longer than a month or 2 months. Okay, we're getting up on about 5 weeks now. We're about to start our 5th week in this range. So I think a breakout's going to happen inevitably here soon. It could come down first and then up. That's my original speculation. But as we continue to build more support at that 30,000, 29.9 range, I'm starting to wonder if that's going to happen. Okay, take a look here at the MACD. We can also see that we're kind of starting to diverge, but it hasn't officially happened yet. So generally speaking, we are mostly bullish on the the weekly. But on the daily, this is what we want to talk about because we've been bearish for a little while, but with this little push here today, we have a bullish engulfing candle so far. It's looking fairly positive. Again, weekend, I know weekends are not super, super telling, if you will. But with us kind of being at this position right now where we have this, this situation where the volume is starting to increase, that's a good sign. Okay. Now again, weekends never truly know, but if this volume can continue leading into the weekday, we should have a position where we're going to be able to take some more profits on some of our long positions. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, we just took profits here for our current trade there. I made about 207 for my copiers, but again, a little 10% return there for a long position we took 5 days ago, right? So again, this is not the most ideal conditions for swing trading. Keep that in mind. You can do some day trades, of course, but generally speaking, it's a terrible market. I'm a positive person too, and I it's tough to be able to say that, but right now we just kind of got a lot of nonsense going on. All right, so let's talk about the nonsense and kind of see what that means for us. So with us being at 50 on the RSI, that's still holding. That's a great sign. That's one of those support levels I was talking about previously. We've got the potential swing in MACD here, basically a shift in momentum to the upside. If we continue to stay range bound, it's inevitable for the price action to swing upwards. That said, though, we also got stochastics here, kind of telling us that hey, we've been diverging for too long, and we are at this point where we're kind of bottoming out. And I talked about this on Friday. If you watched the video, good for you. You can see here that we're at a 9 on TD sequential leading into yesterday. That being said, we're at a 1 here so far today, and in Bitcoin's history, this entire year, ever since January 1st, we have not seen an instance where the price action comes up to a 9 or comes down to a 9 and doesn't reverse itself. Okay, So again, keep in mind, yes, it came up to a 9 here and went sideways, but it still reversed itself to an extent, right? So here, we may see a small push up to some other Fibonacci retracement levels, but the bottom line here is we're at a 9 on TD sequential, and that is helpful, okay? All right, so just know that's a good sign there to kind of give us that reprieve. There is more potential for upside than downside in the immediate future. Not saying we won't still retest these lower areas here, because if you take a look at some of these fair value gaps, you can see obviously there's a pretty stark one here between 28,400 and 29.5. Okay, so it still needs to get filled. Is it a guarantee it's going to? No, it may not happen right away, but it's an inevitability. A lot of times those gaps will get filled. Okay, so again, just something to kind of think about. So all in all, we can disseminate that the daily's looking fairly strong. If we take a look at our simple moving averages, while we are rejecting out at the 20-day simple moving average, very common for a retracement there, we are seeing that first secondary retest here of that level, and there's more likely to break through that if we continue to retest it. Okay, so again, as long as the volume can kind of stay where it's at, there's a good chance we'll break through this level, but there's no doubt that 30,300 is a very, very strong resistance level. In fact, if we take a look at our volume profile here, we can see majority of the volume is accumulating right there at that range. Okay, so again, we just need to continue to build more volume at the current price point or higher, 30,000 or higher. We should be in good shape to be able to reel that in, if you will. Okay, so again, mostly positive here, some slight negative, but all in all, I think that we're looking a little bit more bullish on the short term here. But once again, we got to close over 30,300, preferably 30,300 later today. Okay, but I think 30,000 itself, just the bottom line here, is that is a point of contention, and closing above that level would be very helpful. Now it is pulling back here. It looks like we're pulling back to that 30,330 range. So we will see here soon what that means for us. But let's take a look at the RSI on the 4-hour and kind of see. We are breaking above 50 on the RSI. Now this is tentative for the moment. The candlestick hasn't closed yet. But the bottom line here is that's more of a positive sign. That's kind of telling us we've broken through a resistance. It's not a strong resistance. Once more, again, that 30,000 range wasn't super strong. But the key here is that we are tentatively making higher highs and or potentially higher lows. I like to say tentative because we haven't officially done that yet, but it's on its way to that. All right, and that's a good sign. So if today closes here, again, 30,000 or higher, we should be in pretty good shape to be able to continue this moving forward, right? Now, again, we could very well see a sell-off tomorrow. We are already starting to see a sell-off of that extra volume that just came through. All right, let's take a quick look at that. There's equally the same amount of selling pressure as buying pressure. That's never a great sign, but let's go ahead and take a quick peek at the hourly here and kind of see what's going on. So when it comes to the hourly, I like to look at a few things. Of course, you're probably familiar with which ones I like the most, but generally speaking, we came up to an 8 here previously, overextended, came down to a 5, and now we're back up to a 6. So hypothetically, this bearish engulfing candle could essentially consume this last hours of momentum, so that really could imply that the price may come back down, but you got to keep in mind there's this resistance level where the price action has some difficulty getting through. Okay, you can kind of see this ascending wedge pattern. I talked about this on Friday, sent that through my Twitter and my Telegram. That being said, though, if we can see this kind of shape, that little pattern that was forming where we continue to make higher highs and higher lows, parallel highs and higher lows, we finally broke through that. That does imply that this level here to 29,900 or more so 30,000 would be a likely bouncing point. Okay, so I do think 30,000 along from 30,000 from here could be viable as long as we get some confirmational signs. But once again, this being a previous resistance level will cause this to be a new support. Okay, at least that's the standard thing. And the reason why that happens too, by the way, is because a lot of bears, like at this point here, they're like, no, we're not willing to sell, or we're not willing to let the price go higher, take profits. Eventually, there's a short squeeze that occurs where the price, the shorts get closed out, and then they start hedging their shorts with longs. And they flip positions, and now they're long here instead of short. Okay, or they're exhausted and they can no longer sell any more Bitcoin because they don't have any more. Okay, there's different scenarios there, but what's happening now is the price pulling back to that level. I'd be interested to see if we get a bounce off 30,000. I think that's a probability, but we'll see here soon. Last thing, of course, is the Ichimoku cloud, and we did break through here pretty clean. So we are above the cloud right now. So it does imply we have more propensity for the price action to increase from here than decrease based on that support range right there. Okay, so you couple that with the the volume profile here, and we're in a pretty decent shape here if you look at just the last week's worth of trading in this range. Okay, so again, all in all, pretty decent. We just need to be able to build more volume at this level at 30,300 before we can break that. So I do think that's going to be a big milestone to get through 30,300, but I still feel like we're more likely to retest that level again with a bounce off 30,000 even. That's kind of where we're at. So Hopefully this makes sense for you and describe that correctly. Thanks again so much for watching. Once more, obviously, make sure you follow our Twitter here, and of course, feel free to jump on over to our BingX copy trading account. I would just say, generally speaking, BingX is a fantastic offer if you are new to, just say, well, not new to trading. Say you have been trading with KuCoin, Bybit, or BingX. They all start with B, so it's kind of easy to get confused. BitGet's the other one, of course. They all required KYC this year, and a lot of people have to kind of close their accounts. So if you're in the US and Canada, they've got you covered with a nice little deposit bonus. Be sure to check that out. It's all linked down below, available until July 31st. So check that out, of course, in your own time. I greatly appreciate you watching either way. Nonetheless, thanks again for the years of support. For all my current members who keep watching, thanks again. We'll look forward to seeing the next one. Have a good rest of your day. Take care.